What's up guys, welcome back to another reaction video. Today's reaction video is going to be 4 ways that the British and American houses are different. This video is by Lost Pond, which you guys have told me to check out. I've never checked him out before, but apparently he's a British guy living in the US. So, you know, he's lived in both places and he's going to tell us today. Who better to tell us the differences than someone who's lived in both? I'm very, very keen for this one. He seems like he's got an awesome channel as well, just from the titling, and something I will definitely be checking out for reactions in the future if you guys want to see that. So go and check him out. His link will be in the description, guys. Now, 4 ways the British houses and American houses are different. I'm keen for this one because I imagine there's going to be some mad ones. Let's go.
And tea drinkers that we are,
hey,
we
tea
love
drinkers.
Our kettles, don't we? But they're not just any kettles. These are ones
Okay.
you plug in and then hit the switch to turn on the plug, because I forgot to mention that our plug sockets also have switches.
Oh, we'll get into that a bit later, but do you guys not have switches? I just assumed that your hotels didn't have switches. We will get into it though, we will get into it.
Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to houses, the things we live inside. If you're watching this video, it's quite likely you're either inside a house right now, or you're near one, because otherwise you wouldn't probably have internet access quite as easily to any...
Who needs internet? You've got 4G and potentially 5G. Who needs internet? I'm already against him now. But I love the Lost in the Pond. I didn't understand why it was Lost in the Pond. All these ideas got lost in the pond all the way over to America or Britain, and that's why they're different. I love that idea. The concept is great.
Anyone that might be new to this channel, come on in, get yourself a cup of tea. This isn't a genuine
Do
offer
like a
to
cup
come
of
to my
tea.
house. I'm just saying, join the channel. This is good. And hello to everybody who's been here a long time. Today we're going to look at several ways in which British and American houses are very, very different. Having lived in the United States for over 11 years, I've lived in my fair share of houses here, just as I did in Britain. So I think I have a decent grasp of how houses work. Even tiny ones like this one, which is about 400 square feet. I'm joking, this is a professional studio. Don't question me. And so without further ado, let's take a look at 4 ways that British and American houses are very, very different. Neither Britain nor America is devoid of variety when it comes to their housing styles. That's because, well, with each sort of passing phase of history comes new designs to meet new needs and just new style preferences. And because of this variety, I'm not going to cover every single one of them because that would keep us all here until next Wednesday. Which
That'd be one long history lesson. I completely agree with that. He's going to touch on a few.
would be good for my metrics, but not good for your sanity. So let's take a look at how some of the housing styles do vary from country to country. In Britain, a lot of the distinctive styles are also tied up with the period in which they were built. So you can go all the way back to the Tudor period, and you do find Tudor housing dotted
100%.
around here and there. In fact, if you go to the city of York, for example, there's quite a lot of sort of Tudor buildings there. They're quite ornate with wood paneling, and they're the sort of place that you might imagine that Shakespeare lived. But wood is less indicative of British houses than you would see in America, where wood is actually quite a common material for building houses. In Britain, from about the Georgian period onward, you're going to see quite a lot of brickwork. Georgian period houses absolutely exist. People live in them, but they tend to be these opulent-looking houses that have notable pops of white rectangle, which are just the windows. So it's very nice. They look like dolls' houses that you should live in. But then come the Victorian age, we started moving toward these sort of like orangey brick buildings, right? And a lot of them were terraced houses.
You know, I've seen that.
Which is what
I get that.
Row houses.
Like,
and they just look
if I pictured an American one, I'd picture something like
very
that.
industrial, right? You could imagine a chimney sweep going up and getting his face covered in soot. And then we move into the Edwardian period, where houses are sort of similar to those of the Victorian age. They're just lighter colours with more chimney sweeps, if Mary Poppins is anything to go by. Now, during World War II, when the Nazis bombed the ever-loving crap out of us, a lot of the houses went boom. And then after World War II, there was a housing boom. And you started to see a build-up of new, more simple houses, kind of like the one I grew up in. No, that's a castle.
Well, shop sounds like, nah, no way. No way. This guy's funny as well. I like it.
But I grew up in something more like this.
Yeah, it's a common UK house.
Despite what fairy tales may suggest, most of us have never lived in a chocolate box house, but those do exist. A chocolate box house is the kind of house you might see in the Cotswolds, right? It's very quaint looking, it's got thatch roofing, and it looks like this. And if, like me, you're wondering why it's called a chocolate box house, yet it doesn't look edible, it goes back to the 1950s/60s when chocolate boxes would have on their facade a kind of depiction of a beautiful English countryside. And these types of houses would often feature on said box. Now again, this is by no means
I'm learning as well. I mean, I'm doing my degree in architectural technology. I've done my HNC, and I'm learning. Like, you learn about all this stuff, but he's teaching me some things. I like it. It's funny, and he's teaching me. You know, what better video to react to?
There's an entire repository of British houses. Neither is the following an entire repository of American houses. It's just the more common ones that you will see when you are here. So Cape Cod houses, you know these types of houses, right? They're the ones with the wood paneling down the side. And I said a moment ago
that is very
America
American.
makes good use of wood in this country because there's just so much of it. So many woodlands around the country, and it's a huge country from which to pull that resource. So they do, and it's cheap. But funnily enough, the Cape Cod style has its history with English settlers who came here in the 17th century and started building Cape Cod style houses in New England. Now, during the post-World War II period, partly to provide, housing to veterans coming back from war, there was a revival of Cape Cod style housing, and it started to be built not just in New England, but all along the East Coast and in the Midwest, and even out west. Anybody that's seen the Goonies will know that. And it was
Hey, you guys, let me know. Is the Goonies popular in America? Let me know. I don't know if it is or not. I really don't know. That's a good film. Let me know in the comments, guys.
This style of housing that I first moved into when I moved to the United States, and I've got to say, even despite the Midwest winters, it was really warm. You'd think it would be quite drafty because of all of the gaps in the wood. You could go to specific streets or neighborhoods or areas of the United States and only find these houses for miles and miles. So I lived in one of those, but my grandparents-in-law lived in what is known as a ranch-style house.
Okay.
And these are sort of really low-down buildings, don't typically have 2 floors to them. And once again, these houses became popular after World War II. There was just generally a big sort of boom after World War II, again in the United States in that regard. The 20th century, though, did see more and more revivalism of old styles. So you had, mock Tudor, or should I say revival Tudor, which more or less replicated the kind of Tudor buildings that you would see in England with some differences. And I've seen those types of buildings in Boston, for example. I've also seen them in Indiana. As well as that, the 20th century saw colonial revivalism, though most people don't live in those houses. Maybe one day when I get that grand piano, I'll think about it. And so that's
maybe one day for me. I've just got to get some money first.
Extremely basic and rudimentary breakdown of some of the different styles that you'll see in each country. But there's one big difference between all of the houses in both countries, and it's this.
Your houses are huge, aren't they, I believe?
Some home truths. Compared to America, Britain is microscopic.
Yeah.
The United States is absolutely massive and needs to be stopped. And the same is true of each country's average house size. Right, so in the United States, houses just tend to be way more spacious. And we're not just talking about millionaire houses here. We're talking about your average house. So the average size of an American single-family home is approximately 1,600 square feet. In the UK, we're looking at an average of about 900 square feet. So
oh, come on, that's a lot. That's a lot of square feet. That is a lot of square foot. It'd be nice to know it in square meters squared, but it's okay. It's alright, we'll take square foot, but still, that is a lot.
Why the difference? Well, one reason is population density. In Britain, we're all a bit packed together. Actually, that partially accounts for why everything is smaller in Britain.
Yeah, it makes sense. You guys have got a lot more room to fit your houses, so you can afford to have every single one bigger. I know you got a lot more people, but it makes sense. We've got a lot less room. We've got to squeeze in, so you meet the minimum.
Not everything. Not the cups. But in America, there's just so much land and
I'm not going to comment on that one.
And so few people. So, make them as large as you want. And they do. They're huge. But also a large majority of American houses are relatively new, meaning that they were able to benefit from, building methods and materials that other countries like Britain were not. And the post-war expansion of American highways meant that this was enhanced even more. Those materials could be moved around the country more easily. And of course, this ushered in a more grand housing development.
That makes sense.
All size aside, try saying that after 10 tepid tequilas. Things become subtly different once you're inside the houses of either country.
Hey, the gadgets. This one's going to be good.
Right word? I don't know. I'll have to fire my graphics team. Either way, we're essentially talking about accessories, the things you have in your house that make that house work, even when you're doing the house work. So, for example, airflow, right? America's bigger on its overhead fans and air conditioning units. We don't usually use those. I mean, we like to punish ourselves, especially in the summer. But we can crack a window open and it doesn't get oppressively hot. Always. And so we've mostly been fine with this situation. It does mean that insects get in. So daddy longlegs will get in the house and mosquitoes. But it's a small price to pay for not having air conditioning.
Yeah, we literally don't have any. Well, at least every house I've been to potentially has a fan. It's very rare. You potentially get some that have fans, a ceiling fan, but it's rare. No AC. I've never seen AC in a house. I've seen them in office in my office and stuff like that, you get AC. But in the house, nah. Come on, England doesn't get that hot. It gets cold. It doesn't get that hot. If it gets too hot, just open the window. I completely agree. And it is annoying. Daddy long legs. I assume you guys have them in the US. Let me know. They're annoying.
I actually quite like air conditioning now that I've lived in the US.
I can imagine
Speaking
it's nice,
insects,
though. I can imagine it's
in
nice.
Britain, those insect screens that you put in the windows, hence why they're getting in. In America, they're virtually in every house, but then again,
Wow.
you know, in Britain, we don't have black widows or brown recluses. Or the
We learned
types
about
of
them in my
mosquitoes
last
that make
video.
your face go like this. So I can see why it's justified. I mean, you still get ants, or is that just me? Not sure how they get in. Maybe cracks in the wall, or maybe through the plug sockets. The plug sockets, of course, are different in both countries too. In Britain, you have the three-pronged outlets, and in America, you sometimes
You got
have
two.
three,
No
but
switch.
two.
I just thought, I don't know why, but I've only ever stayed in a hotel in America. I just assumed it was a hotel. It just makes life easy if there's no switches. Plug in. That's a common thing everywhere. Wow.
And they're smaller in America than they are in Britain. That's one of the few things about which you can say that. Separate taps, of course, for hot and cold water. Americans combine them all into one. Where's the logic in that? I'm joking. And while we're on the subject of sinks, most British sinks don't have that sort of food waste disposal thing that you press the button.
Yeah, I've never had one of them.
Amazing. That was.
I've only ever seen them in films and TV programs. I'm like, what? A disposal? And it seems like quite common. Let me know if you guys have it.
It's one of the best things I discovered after I didn't discover it. Somebody else came up with the idea and I just used it. But it's amazing. It's just so pleasing to know that all of that gunk gets broken down.
That's pretty cool.
Just don't put your hamster in there. I've learned that lesson.
Yeah,
From
good
someone
idea.
else. I didn't do it, just read about it on Reddit. Letterboxes. Firstly, Americans don't call them letterboxes, but mailboxes, and typically don't have them on the door, but outside in the garden, yard. The garden/yard is different. Often smaller in Britain, but very well kept up, depending on the family. And just massive yards here with, mesh fences and things like that, or picket fences. Back inside, a lot of properties in the United States will have walk-in closets that are built into the actual walls of the house.
Yeah, see, that's cool. And that's when you know you got a bit of money. Maybe not in the US because you guys got bigger areas. But a walk-in closet, that is cool. We don't have that. We do have it. We do have that in England. It's not a new thing. It's all over the world, I imagine. But a lot less in normal houses. We have a lot less walk-in closets is what I'm trying to say.
Whereas in Britain, you bring your own closet/wardrobe.
Yeah, wardrobe,
to put your clothes in.
put in your room and put it in
that
it.
takes up more space, I've just realised. So we're shooting ourselves in the foot.
Yeah, we really are, my man.
Except when it comes to washing machines and dryers. How cool is this? We combine them both into one giant cube, whereas America has two separate cubes. And
you can have two separate cubes as well. I don't think I've had a washer and dryer before, but at the moment I've got two separate cubes, so I'm basically American. It should be American guy reacts to this.
Tea drinkers that we are, we love our kettles.
Oh, I love a tea.
But they're not just any kettles. These are ones you plug in and then hit the switch to turn on the plug.
Because we have
I forgot to
switches,
mention
plugs.
that our plug sockets also have switches.
Yeah.
And then, you turn it on. Don't need a stovetop, and it heats up. Just like that. You've got your water, bob
Magic.
your uncle, pour it into a mug. There's your cup of tea. In America, you do have the stovetop kettles, and part of me likes that because it does this really pleasing whistling sound at the end.
Wait, so you guys have normal kettles? Surely not. Let me know if you guys have kettles or not. I know you don't drink much tea or hot drinks as much, but surely you got kettles. Like, you're not doing it the old-fashioned stovetop way. I think he's lying to me about that one. Surely not. I'll break my heart, guys. Surely
Now,
not.
if you were paying attention during that list, you may have noticed that I touched on some of the terminological differences when it comes to housing in each country.
Wardrobe,
That brings
stuff
us
like
on
that.
to our final entry.
The words.
It wouldn't be Britain and America if they weren't two countries separated by a common language, and the same is true of the housing world. So let's finish with a rapid fire round looking at those very words. So here in Chicago, I live in a flat, except in America they don't call it flat, it's called an apartment.
Yeah, it's flat, but apartment everyone understands. That's worldwide as well.
The else you'll find in America, though, are these condominiums or condos, if you don't.
I've heard of that, but we don't say that in the UK.
And we do have those in Britain. They're usually called common hold properties. And I suppose.
Oh, I've never heard of common hold properties either. Straight over my head.
British people wouldn't go around using that term, whereas you actually hear the term condo quite a lot.
I've never heard common hold
to
before.
Me that I move into a condo, and it sounds good. I mean, when I first heard the term, I thought it sounded like I might be moving onto a lakeside boat or something like that. It is like an apartment, but it's one you would buy. It's real estate. Now, as a child and young adult, I grew up in a house that was known as a semi-detached house. That's when you have a house adjoined to one other house on one side, but not on the other side. In the United States, this is known quite simply as a duplex, which is not a wrestling move.
Okay.
If it is adjoined on both sides with another house, then you are part of a line of houses that are known as terraced houses in Britain. In America, they're known as row houses because they're all in a row.
You know what? That's a simpler way to say it. If you're going to say it simpler. I don't blame you for saying that. Fair play.
Absolutely. Then there's council housing in Britain versus the projects in the United States, and that's just another way of saying public housing. To control the electricity flow in Britain, you have the mains power. In America, you have the grid power. And what if you're sick and tired of the place that you're living in and you just want to relocate somewhere
Grid makes sense because you're
in America,
the grid.
you would just simply move. In Britain, you'd move house. And on that note, I'm going to move out.
Wait. So you go, I'm going to move. You could be moving anywhere. You could be moving to your kitchen. You know what I mean? Decent.
To my outro transition, Britain versus the projects in the United States.
Yeah, I need this to try again.
Saying public housing. To control the electricity flow in Britain, you have the mains power. In America, you have the grid power.
Yeah.
And what if you're sick and tired of the place that you're living in and you just want to relocate somewhere else? In America, you would just simply move. In Britain, you'd move house.
I don't know why. About anyone's quality. Yeah, you'd move house. You just move. Like, if you was in a conversation, oh yeah, I'm moving house. Oh yeah, I'm gonna move. I'd be like, where? You can go over there, or you gonna stand right here? Why are you moving? Right. No, I'm gonna move. But you just stood there. No, I'm gonna move house. Oh, there we go. You're moving your house. Come on. No. Let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know.
On that note, I'm going to move out to my outro transition because this is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below if you're watching this from your house right now, or
yeah, let me know if you're watching it from your house. Let me know where. America, Britain, potentially anywhere else. A few Australian viewers as well. Let me know in the comments, guys. I'd really appreciate that. A bit of a different one today. I didn't expect it to be as just talking the whole way through. I never expected it, but it was quite a funny person. I really enjoyed it, and I'll put it out there anyway to see if you guys enjoy it as well. So let me know in the comments, guys, if you want me to do more of these type of videos or not. I'd really appreciate it. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.